All right, I appreciate you all being here. I have a brief statement that I'm going to read. This past weekend, on Sunday, May 30th, an officer on patrol in downtown saw two juveniles impede traffic and do wheelies in the area of 2nd Avenue North and Broadway. The officer initiated his lights and siren to conduct a traffic stop, and the juveniles fled on their bikes. The officer was able to locate and detain the males after a short foot pursuit. Both males, 15 and 16 years old, both of Fargo, were arrested for refusal to halt and cited for riding their bicycles on the sidewalk were prohibited. Their bicycles were impounded. Last summer and into the fall, the Fargo Police Department received multiple complaints regarding young people riding their bicycles in the roadways, blocking traffic, and causing disturbances. In preparation to continued issues from last fall, officers had been advised to document each incident, preferably with a criminal report. The department will work closely with the juvenile court system to hold these young people accountable. Individuals involved in this type of behavior may be eligible to be cited for failure to obey a traffic control device, bicycle equipment violations, failure to obey a traffic signal, careless driving, reckless driving, or failure to obey stop signs or disorderly conduct. Other criminal charges like harassment, criminal mischief, or other offenses the officer deems appropriate. In serious instances, bikes, like in this one, used to commit violations may be impounded. We are asking members of our community to contact dispatch at the non-emergency number at the time of the incident. If it is safe to do so, any video or picture would be beneficial to the case. Each officer will be documenting the incident, so we ask that you allow them to speak with you when you call in and allow them to identify you as a victim in that report. Last year, a challenge of the department was the lack of interest in the complainant speaking with the officer or providing identifying information. This is important when filing a criminal report, which we hope will put an end to this dangerous behavior. The department is committed to ensuring Fargo is a safe and unified community built on trust, accountability, and inclusion. Neighborhood concerns can be communicated to an on-duty supervisor. You can contact dispatch to get a hold of that supervisor. I'm free for some brief questions. I understand this is a juvenile case, so I won't be able to answer a whole lot.
Okay, kind of obvious. People who are watching this, why should they care?
Why should they care about this? So we've been receiving a lot of complaints over the last year on this specific incident, on types of incidents where we have a lot of juveniles riding in neighborhoods, riding in downtown Fargo, videoing what they do and driving towards not only emergency vehicles but vehicles on the street, doing wheelies and basically, for lack of a better term, playing chicken with those vehicles, almost causing accidents in some instances and creating a dangerous environment for everybody who's driving. There have also been instances where traffic has been blocked, which, as we know, when traffic is backed up, it causes a dangerous environment in our city where crashes could occur. There's also been instances where vehicles have been damaged and harassment has occurred by groups of juveniles that are doing such behavior. And so that's why individuals should care. We have been receiving a lot of complaints on this in the past few months.
It seems like safety is probably obviously the number one priority, not even just for the cars that are out there, but the summer months coming up and more people getting out, more cars on the roadway too, right? And
definitely.
People are doing this too, the kids that are going out on these bikes, like it's just not safe to do this. Right?
Safety to all concerned, and it's not only the behavior, but in all reality, individuals in the neighborhoods where this is happening are threatening violence in some cases, which we do not want to see and obviously don't condone. And so safety all the way around. We definitely don't want the individuals who are riding these bikes and doing this type of behavior to get hurt, but we don't want a dangerous environment to be created by the actions that are being committed by these individuals.
Okay.
Do you hope to see that more people will come forward, though, now that there's a steeper penalty towards this activity?
Well, what I'm hoping is that this behavior stops. But if what we're encouraging is that if they see this type of behavior, if individuals in the community see this type of behavior, they contact us, and that we can make a report, document this type of behavior, and take the appropriate action necessary for that incident.
Can you talk about why it would be good for pictures and videos? Because oftentimes when calls for service come in, it may be a little delayed response, and then sometimes they're gone by the time we get there?
Definitely. So individuals that do see this, what we're asking for is pictures and video, like I said in the statement. Those pictures and video are important because we can see what type of clothing people are wearing, we can see what type of bikes people are driving, and we actually document the occurrence. If if we have a traffic occurrence and we can see it, we can then, or a traffic violation, we can then cite for that. If we have some type of criminal occurrence, it's more than likely going to be a misdemeanor offense, which we can't really do anything about unless, you know, happening in our presence. So all the evidence that we can collect, that individual sees it, that can collect, will help us with a case report at a later time when we do that. If we're called because of a high call for service volume that day or whatever, we might get there a little bit later.
Do you have kids or nephews, nieces?
I'm sorry?
Do you have kids, nephews, nieces?
I'm not going to talk about my family in this.
That's just a question, because I want you to say to parents, how would you tell them to talk to their nieces or nephews? How would you say to your niece or nephew, like, listen, don't go in the street? Because that's also a two-part. You're telling the community to look out, but you kind of got to talk to the kids too. Definitely.
So if you have children, if you have nieces, if you have nephews, grandchildren, and they're doing this type of behavior, what's important is to talk to them about, number one, it's not only, you know, breaking the law, but how dangerous it is, not only for them, but for the community. And the consequences are fairly heavy in some cases. Your bike can be impounded. It's hard to get that back. There's a financial consequence. You might wind up in juvenile detention and away from home for a long period of time. And so it's good to talk about those behaviors and the consequences for those behaviors when we're breaking the law and endangering people in the community.
Question is, how often would you say off the top of your head that you guys get calls about, you know, just people riding their bikes like this?
It really depends upon the day. This isn't an occurrence that's happening every day that we know of or that we get calls on, but it is an occurrence that's happening often. And so we get, not just this group, but we get calls about people who are riding bikes in the street or doing something recklessly from time to time on a bike. This one, as it started last summer into last fall, created more calls for service than usual for quite some time, which prompted us to maybe take a little bit more of a look at what was going on with this group. Yes, sir?
Maybe to almost address any of the kids that see this, what would be some alternative places that you would recommend that go bike? You know, there's going to be kids that want to bike. That's just a fact. Where would you have them go? Where do you think would be good for them?
Well, they always can do what they would like on their own private property. Obviously, we have ordinances against riding on sidewalks. We do have areas in parks where they can ride bikes as long as they're not disrupting traffic. I'm not sure of any specific areas where you can do tricks or stunts on bikes in our area, but I would encourage them to seek a place like that out. This type of behavior in city streets, sidewalks, and places where vehicles are traveling in high volume is not safe for anybody.
I know you guys obviously value your relationship with the community, and especially with the youth of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
You reach out and engage more with them. How do you kind of balance that when you're talking to kids that are 15 and 16 that are doing this kind of stuff? How do you kind of work that relationship to try not to damage it too much, so when they become of age and actual adults, they don't become repeat offenders and make similar or worse mistakes? Definitely. Well, you know, what we have to do as law enforcement is not only engage with our community and have that kind of that respect that's earned and given both ways, but we also have laws that we have to uphold. We have ordinances that people in our community expect us to enforce, and we have to just explain that. We have to explain that there are consequences to actions, that there are things that are legal and illegal. We can talk about ways, better alternatives to do stunts on bikes and where they can and can't do that, and maybe even help them seek out those types of places if they ask. But a good relationship between department and community is built, and they have to understand what our job is, and we have to understand what they're seeking from us, and meet in the middle or compromise there at some point where we can. So that's what I would suggest.
What does it mean for you guys as a department to come up with a game plan to tackle this?
What does it mean for us?
Yeah, like, you know, to finally be like, hey, we have, you know, a game plan, a solution to tackle this issue.
Well, we've had a game plan or a solution in place for quite some time. We were expecting that this might be happening as the weather got nicer. And so what it means for us is that we were just prepared for when this happened. And the reason we do that is it's not a gotcha moment. It's a moment where we've had many citizen complaints, community complaints, and we did the job that was expected of us, and that was to have a plan in place and to conduct that plan or carry that plan out when the time was necessary. Yep. Are we good? All right, thank you everybody, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.